Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wist. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. Hello, Steve Kostanski. Tell me how you conceived your movie Psycho Goreman.
Well, I had the image in my mind of a monster man sitting in a drum set for a very long time, and for years I was trying to figure out like where can I fit that into a movie. And then one day I was watching this movie called Rawhead Rex. I'm not sure if that's one you've seen.
Yeah.
But it's a fairly awful creature film from I believe the early 80s. Anyways, I was getting bored watching it, but I was imagining like what would you do in a scenario where you had this kind of creature, this like ancient ancient godlike evil that's resurrected, and it's like what could you do with that that's actually like interesting and clever. And then I grew up on the comic strip Calvin and Hobbes, and I always liked that relationship that they had, and I liked the kind of, you know, the way that comic strip encapsulated like how weird and crazy it is being a kid. And so I kind of combined that sort of like youthful energy with the dark sci-fi horror concept of this ancient evil being resurrected. And so mashing those two together is how I got the core concept of PG, which is these two kids playing in their backyard unwittingly unearth this ancient evil that they control through the power of this magical gem, and go on adventures with him. And so, yeah, that was how I came up with the basic premise of the movie.
That's interesting. How long was that basic premise kicking around in your head for?
I mean, I had, like I said before, I had that idea of a monster sitting in a drum set for years and years. And the movie, the actual core concept I came up with, like maybe 8 months before we started shooting. I think that's pretty generous. I had met through a mutual friend some nice local folks who wanted to finance an independent movie, and they had seen my other works, and they were like, we want you to make something like this except with a little bit more money. So they offered to finance it. So I needed to come up with a premise, and I was actually pitching them something completely different. And being the procrastinator that I am, I was putting off writing the other thing and coming up with the premise of PG. So I mean, I wrote the script very quickly after I'd written a treatment that I'd sent off and everyone had loved and was like, this is the movie you should be making. Forget that other thing.
Can you just tell me how long the treatment was and how long it took to then make it a script, and how long was the script?
Well, this treatment, I think, was only a few pages. It was a pretty basic outline, but honestly, like the structure of that treatment did not change. Like what's in the movie is pretty much what I put down on that page initially, and everybody agreed was like what the movie should be. So it's just a case of fleshing it out. Like it's not like I need to rethink the entire third act of the movie. It was all there. And so the script, I believe it was just over 90 pages. I don't remember offhand, but it was not a long script. I always try to keep my movies in and around 90 minutes because I find that seems to be the sweet spot, especially for this kind of genre content. I think, you start going over that and people start to tune out.
For sure.
We've got our generation of YouTube attention spans. So I wanted to keep it at a tight 90, the way John Carpenter liked to do. So yeah,
cool.
I think it was around 90 pages.
Yes, your movie The Void definitely felt like a John Carpenter sort of a vibe.
Yeah, well, it's really is just trying to bring horror movies back to the way they used to be and giving a bit more of a classical feel, which all of his movies have. They have kind of like a timeless vibe to them. So that was something Jeremy and I really liked and wanted to instill into our own film. So yeah.
Yeah, so speaking of previous work, I felt like Psycho Goreman is somewhat of a visual continuation of Manborg. And how would you describe this visual style of yours in those two particular movies?
I think I think the visual style is cram as much crazy shit into the frame as possible.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like with Manborg, it was an ambitious project where, if I had known it would have taken me 3 years to make that movie, I maybe would have reconsidered. Because there was so much visual effects and practical effects mashed together. And PG was a similar experience where once again I was stuck building a bunch of stuff on my own, just trying to get what's on the page on the screen, because we certainly did not have the budget to execute a lot of what was happening. And so it's I feel like the scrappy low budget effects heavy movies are my style. That is my visual continuity between those films, is just cramming as much stuff onto the screen as possible and trying to give the audience as much bang for their buck, because I don't feel like there's a lot of genre movies that do that anymore. Like I miss the era of like kind of like Sam Raimi, like Evil Dead to Army of Darkness type movies, or John Carpenter type movies that are just full of stuff that you feel like you're really getting like a roller coaster ride of an experience. And that's not to say there isn't obviously a place for more subtle affair, but in the genre world, especially like sci-fi and horror, like I like to have the occasional big bombastic thing to watch every once in a while. Not everything needs to be two people in an apartment fighting a ghost. It's like I want to have, I want to throw some kung fu and some pyrotechnics in there just to spice it up a bit.
So PG definitely has a distinctive look, and that sort of Templar lady that he goes against does too. And there are all kinds. There's like a sort of council of goons, alien goons, and they all some of them definitely are pretty memorable looking. What were some visual inspirations for all the different kinds of aliens?
I mean, a lot of them were characters that I was pulling from half thought out ideas for previous projects, like things that I knew I had wanted at some point that I just didn't know what to do with. But as far as like PG himself, his look was definitely inspired by like all the classic cartoon and movie villains of the 80s and 90s. Growing up, like all my idols were like Megatron and Shredder and Cobra Commander and Skeletor and Darth Vader. So I wanted to like kind of make my own villain that would kind of fit into that roster and kind of make him an amalgamation of all those characters. And then as far as like the Alien Council, I wanted a scene that felt a little bit like a little Star Wars prequel-y, where I do have a weird nostalgia for those films, and I think there's like a lot of great effects in them and a lot of wacky creatures and stuff that I don't think people give enough credit to. But I'm so in love with those movies, their ability to take such exciting visuals and make them boring because it's just people sitting around talking about stuff.
Right.
And so that was what the Alien Council scene was supposed to be, was like a bunch of crazy characters that are super interesting visually, but they're talking about kind of boring, mundane politics stuff. And so, yeah, there's like I feel like there's like just a hint of like a Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones in that scene, in terms of just like what that scene represents and my intentions behind it. But yeah, with all the designs, I wanted them all to be as like out there as possible. So even though they have a short time on screen, you still like you're thinking about them after the fact, and you're thinking about Tube Man and wondering like, why is that like meaty brain in a tube? Like I want the audience to ask those questions and hope like even like the idea of there being an expanded universe of fan fiction of people figuring out what these creature stories are really entertains me, because I like leaving those kinds of things wide open for people to interpret. So yeah, that was the intention behind a lot of the creature design, is to make you wonder like, what is this guy's deal? and keep thinking about it after the movie's done.
Yeah, well, I'm still waiting for that Bionic Cop movie.
Hey, I mean, you watched PG, right?
Yeah.
So he's in there.
He's in there.
He shows up.
I want his own movie though.
Yeah, I mean, he's a character that he originated from the short film that I made that played after Manborg on the DVD, and he was so popular that I just kept getting requests for him to have his own movies, so I shoehorned him into this one with the hope that it would satisfy people a little bit, but maybe it's just stoking that fire even more, and now I got to make a Biocop solo adventure movie, which I'm not opposed to. I mean, he's a very fun, wacky character.
Definitely. Could you tell me a little bit about this Day of the Dead show you're involved in?
I mean, I can't talk much about it because they're still in the thick of making it. So, I mean, I'm kind of sworn to secrecy, but I can say that I directed 4 episodes of it.
Wow.
And it was a really crazy adventure doing it out in BC. I mean, we got the company that did the effects, Masters Effects, who's the company that I work for and have worked for many years, and headed up by Todd Masters, who's one of the greatest effects artists out there. And so I can say that the show has lots of really great zombie effects and lots of awesome gore, and I think fans are going to like it. It's a departure from the source material for sure, but I think in a way that is still true to the spirit of Romero's films. So I had a lot of fun making it.
Awesome. So when you're on set, do you personally try to create a sense of ambiance, or are you a bit more laid back? Or just explain to me your approach to talking to the crew and actors.
I mean, if that's your way of asking, am I a yeller? Like, do I yell at people? No,
not necessarily that.
I'm not a freak, and I'm not like firing a gun off randomly.
No. That's not what I meant. Yeah.
No, I'm very much
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm pretty laid back, I think, but I'm always making things that are too ambitious for the amount of time we have to shoot them. Right. So I find there's always so much panic on set that I have to be the one that keeps his cool. And there's obviously situations where you have to get upset because things get unreasonably crazy. But for the most part, I'm just so used to walking onto set every day and being bombarded with a million problems that it's hard to get fazed by it anymore, because it's like, that's just the nature of making movies and TV. Like, I feel like I'm just walking from one low budget scenario into the next, where there's no time, no money, no resources. And I mean, being a guy that started out making movies in his parents' garage for $0, like shooting on a green screen that my mom sewed for me, and like costumes that I cobbled together out of stuff I bought from Dollarama. Like, it's not that big of a stretch for me to have to make these things work. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it, and it all comes down to the team as well. Like, I've always had great teams and a great crew on all my projects, and you just keep a good vibe on set of, we're all in this together, and we all want to get through the day, but we all also want to make a thing that's fun and exciting. And that's what I like about all my projects, is it seems like everybody enjoys them because they know they're going to get into something crazy. Like, there's going to be some gag or some creature or something where everybody can be like, wow, did not expect to see that on set today. And like, it's a step up from having to work on like Hallmark movies where every day you're just shooting people conversing in front of a fireplace. Like,
yes, that's what we specialize in Ottawa.
Oh, really? It seems like it's kind of bled into every city in Canada, because when I was out doing Day of the Dead, a bunch of the crew were like almost Hallmark lifers. Like, they had to like get out of it because it was just one Hallmark show after another. So it's sad to hear that virus has spread to Ottawa, unfortunately. But I guess there's big money in that. So yeah,
we didn't really have anything before that though. So
Really? Because I thought you guys there's like a little bit of a genre scene
A little bit,
out there.
like Lee DeMarbra, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little
So
things, but like in terms of like an industry, this is what we have, more or less.
this is like sort of on topic, maybe a little off topic, but like wasn't that
Yeah,
movie Clown shot in Ottawa?
yeah,
The horror movie?
yeah.
So like I feel like there was a few of those, maybe, but I guess this is a
Have
few
you
years
seen
ago
Clown
now.
though?
Yeah, I mean I didn't mind it.
You're right.
I worked on it. I
Oh,
did some gag.
oh, I see.
Were you not a fan? You're
Well,
allowed to say so.
I didn't. I hated it. I just like, to me that's like maybe not pinnacle like genre fare, but it's still
Oh,
cool.
for sure.
Yeah. Same with we had a Mel Gibson over here with was it Fat Man or whatever?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it seems like you guys have an industry out there. You've got stuff going on.
We got some stuff. I'm perhaps being a little too harsh because I'm from here, right? So as
Some of
compared to
that's
Toronto or as compared to Los Angeles, it seems like a bummer. But
I
as
mean
compared
I
to
would
Barrie, perhaps is I don't know.
I wouldn't complain if we could push some of this Toronto stuff your way because we've got too much stuff going on right now. Like I'm in the shop working on there's like 3 different shows simultaneously, and it's
Wow.
like it's a little unreasonable. It's a crazy time to be this busy too. Like
Hmm.
I shot those episodes of Day of the Dead. Like I started prep end of August and finished in mid-December, so it's like we're like in the height of this pandemic trying to shoot a show and
And
just
you gotta do
trying to
all
be
the
safe.
tests and stuff.
Yeah, well, like tests and getting your temperature checked every morning and wearing a mask and trying to stay
Mm.
distanced. Like it's hard on set. Like it's not an
Oh yeah.
environment that's conducive to these kinds of measures. And I feel
Mhm.
like that, it should take priority over, making just a schlocky sci-fi channel TV show, right? Like I feel like safety should be the number one priority. But yeah, it's real busy right now, and I'm a little concerned that it's maybe too much. But I don't know. Everything seems to be safe right now, and people seem okay. So hopefully, it just continues that way, and we don't have any big incidents where there's like an outbreak on set or something. So just cross my fingers.
All right. So I appreciate that. And I hope you spread the love to Ottawa somehow, some way. And I'll ask you one more question. You have a great perspective on making movies in Canada. So what in your mind is going well and what could be improved?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of in my own weird little bubble. Like I really lucked out with PG where it was independently financed. It really like none of it came from the Canadian film
Mhm.
system that we have in place. I know that there's great tax credits, at least like in Ontario,
Mhm.
and Manitoba seems to have some good ones too. But yeah, I don't know. I've always felt like the genre filmmakers, unless you're a like genre royalty like Cronenberg,
Right.
like I don't feel like I feel like we're not getting the kinds of opportunities that they got like back in like the 70s and 80s, like with their like tax shelter
Mhm.
movies that they made. Like I just
Yeah.
wish there was a little bit more financial love for the kind of stuff that I'm making because there's definitely has an audience and like people want this kind of stuff. So it'd be nice if there was a bit more funding for things like this. But I feel like every filmmaker is going to give you that same answer where it's like, I wish I was getting more money. But I mean, all things
It's true
considered,
though,
like
right? Yeah.
yeah, well, you could never have enough for your project. You always want
Right.
more. If you have any kind of ambition with the project you're making, it's never enough. But I mean, I consider myself pretty lucky that I've been able to make this movie the way that I wanted to make it on like a budget that was not pocket change like
Mhm.
Manborg. So I really can't complain. And yeah, I mean, we've got a pretty booming industry here. So yeah, I think we've got it pretty good. And I think it's a pretty supportive community as well. Like there's lots of great Canadian filmmakers out there like me that are just trying to get their stuff made. and we all communicate and try and support and help each other. And I think that's the key going forward, is everybody just needs to be supportive, because even if you can get the funding you want for your movie, you still got to try and figure out a way to make it. And the way to do that is to have a strong community of fellow filmmakers and crew and people that you know and trust to help pull off your vision. So
Okay, well, Stephen, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. Good talking to you.